Hello everyone. Today we're gonna use this and see how it works on the Gunpla. Naturally, I'm not gonna use on my V2AB because that is just a no. So we're gonna use some sphere runners. We have three types of tool heads here. This is your sander. You can see that it spins, and this is basically like a stone. Next, we have a cutting disc. Yeah, it's really just a carbide disc that is screwed onto a shaft. Lastly, we have a sander that is in a roll. How this works is that the screw compresses the black bit, which is really a piece of rubber, so it expands slightly, and then that's how and the friction kind of stops the two pieces from rotating away from each other. So now we have some sacrifice here. And not really sacrifice because they're really already just junk parts. Just runners. Here we have a really dark runner. This is a dark blue, a light runner, a light color. Sorry, these are a dark and light color ABS. This is a PS runner, and we have a ABS runner, and finally we have a clear PS runner. So let's see how it fares and what the cuttings, or what the cut marks look. We're gonna start with a lighter color one. So first we're going to try to just go through one of these gates and see what we get. Remember to wear eye protection. We're going to be doing this at 15,000 RPM. This is already really loud, so bear with me. So as you can see from here, that effectively it gets pretty hot, and it's really just melting the plastic and not really removing anything. So let's try a slower RPM. Let's try with 10. Okay, 10 does the same thing. It melts and immediately cools. Let's try 7,500 RPM. Yep, I think we are finally getting some shaving that doesn't result in melting. Now, I think we're just gonna have to do at the lowest RPM, which is 5,000. As you can see, it is pretty good at wearing things down slowly, but there is the definite issue that it kind of just melts the plastic. Since this is really just a color, I feel that it will do the same thing on the darker PS. So, but let's try it anyways. So we can see that it is still just melting the plastic itself. We can see the excess that is the slightly lighter bit, and it's kind of just really in there. This is a better tool for the job. So when we try to pry it, it doesn't really come out. It's just kind of melted in place plastic. Now you might be wondering what happens when you put it at a much higher RPM. So let's try 20,000 RPM. So because 15,000 RPM was melting plastic, naturally we have more melting plastic, but this time just faster. This is a groove that was made. Let me try to get a shot where you can see the melting and while me not losing my finger at the same time. You can see that this hole is this section is new and there's lots of melted plastic. Let me add a light here so that it has a better chance of focusing. All right. Now, since we can go all the way up to 35,000, let's try 25,000. So the result is the same, more melting plastic, just way faster. Once again, this is going to be 30,000. Sorry, this is going to be 30,000 now, so please watch your speakers. This will be really, really loud. Once again, this still has a problem of the plastic being melted, but at least it is taking it cleaner off, taking it off cleaner. You can see that inside the runner itself, the grain there's a little bit of a grain finish. All right, finally, max speed, which is 35,000. Once again, headphone warning, speaker warning. So we can see that this tool definitely has some issue with dealing with excess in terms of PS plastic. So let's try a different plastic. Let's try ABS. This is our ABS runner. Once again, let's try it from 5,000 all the way up to 35,000. So I feel that we're gonna have the same issue. This is still having the same issue. A lot of it I feel has to do with the fact that it's not ejecting the plastic pieces as this. It's not creating a chip, so that's why it's just kind of getting bundled together and pushed into a pile of plastic. This time we're gonna skip ahead and just do 20,000 because I think we're gonna get the same effect, at least from this tool. Yep, so once again we have our plastic that's being melted. And kind of just bunched up in a ball on the side. Speaker warning again. Now we're gonna do 35,000 on ABS plastic. You can in the previous shot you can see the little ball grow. This is even shiny and very malleable because it's actually not sure if you can see that it is malleable right now because it's hot. Because the plastic is really just melting. In a little bit it will harden. So you might be thinking, hey, can we use this to do seamless? No, absolutely not, because you're going to take off way too much material, and this is, at least with this particular tool, not controllable. Yeah, here is your ball of molten plastic. It's great if you like molten plastic. That said, this may be a interesting way to see if you can do battle damage. But once again, all your material is going to be on one side only. Now let's try a different tool. Let's try a clear plastic. Before I try a different tool. Clear plastic, we're just going to go straight into 35,000 RPM. And let's just go. Right, so once again we have our molten plastic that is still very malleable and soft. And in a little bit it will harden, but yeah. So let me make a clean cut through it, because I would like to show you how well I will try to show you how well it finishes. I'm going to pick a larger middle section here. Alright, that kind of saved me a little bit of time and finagling. So this is one of the side. This is a side where it's not supposed to be much plastic accumulation. You can see the finish is fairly rough, and there is a bunch of kind of white pre-molten plastic that's attached. So this is definitely not a great way of processing white plastic. On the other side, there is a gigantic ball of white plastic. So let me just kind of cut this out so it's easier to see. This is the other side of the cut or the sanding, and there is a big ball of white plastic, and the surface finish is pretty bad. Alright, now let's try a different tool. Alright, so let's try the cutter first. This time we will start with clear plastic since we have it right here. The cutter, we're going to start at 5,000 RPM and see how well it cuts or if it just kind of skips. Alright, here we go. Right, so this tool requires a fairly rigid surface. Sorry, not a fairly rigid surface, a fairly rigid hold on the object you're cutting. Because plastic is flimsy, and yeah. So let's try cutting a part that has a little bit more reinforcement, which is meaning that the rod that we're cutting is the distance between the support is much smaller. So this was 5,000 RPM, and you can clearly see that there's a lot of excess plastic that's just kind of hanging out. Once again, this tool has the same, well, not this tool. This tool head has the same problem with molten plastic as our previous one, because it's not ejecting it. For this tool, I think that the behavior will be pretty similar to our previous tool. So I'm gonna go to 35,000 RPM and make another cut right here. So generally, that felt a lot more scary. So I would if you were to be cutting polystyrene plastic, I would recommend you to use 5,000 RPM because it's a lot more controllable and less skipping. But in general, the residue of the cut is the same. There's no discernible difference between different RPMs. It's just one seems a little bit more stable and controllable. Right, next we're gonna try ABS plastic. So because of we're gonna try this cage right here because it seems a little bit stiffer than the rest. We're gonna use 5,000 RPM to cut this cage. You can see that this leaves a lot of residue as well. The surface finish isn't too bad. It just looks like maybe 30 to 100 good sandpaper. If you can live with that and you are willing to clean away the molten plastic, that seems like a good trade-off. So let's now just try this tool at 35,000 RPM. And now we're gonna cut right here. Yeah, that just like do it a lot quicker. And I don't know if it's just a property ABS, but there was a little bit of smell on it from it. So yeah, the finish on this is not great. Let's see if we can clean this up a little bit very carefully. So yeah, here is a fairly flat surface that we just created from the tool. But once again, it still has a problem of a lot of excess just kind of all around. Because it's just really spinning too fast and it's melting the plastic. This one removed quite easily. It doesn't get attached to the plastic that was originally there. Well, it didn't get attached to the runner itself. Right, so that's the ABS runner. Now let's do a clear runner because oh no, this should be fine. Let's do a dark ABS PS runner. So we're gonna cut right here and see how it holds up. Right, it pretty much melted it as usual. This is something that I think we have come to an understanding of, that this tool melts plastic because of the RPM that it runs at, and it doesn't really matter what RPM it runs at because the range is 5,000 to 35,000. So either way, it's melting plastic. So I think a good note of this is that because the plastic is getting melted, you're not gonna get a lot of white stress mark because it kind of just heals itself because it's yeah. The note is that this takes away material. You can clearly see that there is a missing section. Alright, I'm gonna skip the lighter color ABS because I feel that it's gonna be the same. Now lastly, we have our rotary sanding tool. I feel that this is going to get the same result as this thing, which is the stone type sanding tool. So let's start with the This is the light color PS. So we're just gonna try to send a little bit of this at 5,000 RPM. Yeah, so far this has the same issue as the, I'm not sure if this is focused. You can see a little bit of melted plastic that's kind of attached. So this has the same issue as this tool, which makes sense because neither of them has the ability to eject the waste plastic. Based on just on that fact, I think yeah, I will not further use this tool. I will not further demonstrate this rotary tool because it's going to be the same result as this thing. Now, so is there a tool that can eject the plastic? Maybe there is. Let me take a look. So first, let's remove this and grab our kit. So at least for me, this is a set of attachment that comes with the set of attachment that comes with the Dremel. So we have more sandpaper, so that's these four here, ring-shaped ones, and 5. Here we have a what do you call this? This is like a wire brush wheel. This will be pretty interesting to get an effect on, so let's try it out. Just more sandpaper. This is the same stone type tool as the orange one we saw earlier. This is a polishing compound. For our purpose, I don't think there is much use. More stone type tool. This is a grip for a disc. This is just a different method of attaching the disc, but it's going to be the same as the disc that we already have. So I think this is a nylon brush, and the black one is a nylon brush, and the shiny one is a stainless steel brush. This is another disc, same as this, but just a little bit smaller. Now these tools may be the interesting ones that we can look at, but due to the size, they might skip. So from left to right, we have a small ball-shaped Dremel head. This is not going to focus that well, but you can see that it is knurled at the tip. The second one is just a slightly bigger ball. And the third one is the one I was thinking of. Hopefully this will be able to eject the plastic. But due to the shape, I think it will just kind of bounce and deflect. And the plastic itself will just bounce and deflect, and we're not going to get a good result. These are polishing wheels or polishing heads. And we have sandpaper that can be attached to one of these discs. But sandpaper, this I feel because of the rotation speed, it will have the same effect as the disc, because it will simply just go too fast and melt the plastic. Right, so we have a couple of things to try. Let me put away these things a little bit. This should not be in there. Anyways, I'll put this here for now. Right, so we have the big ball, the small ball, and some brushes to try. So let's try the less damaging one. So this is the nylon or something plastic brush. For the brush, I will try a larger surface, like the tag itself. So I will try it on this surface to see what happens to the words once I kind of go through it. So we're gonna try at 5,000 RPM. So this is quite a desirable finish, I feel, for battle damage. It kind of just brushes away and creates a little bit of a groove. This feels a little bit like being grazed by maybe a beam weapon. Try on the lighter plastic. You can see that because I use a little bit less force, we're able to get the zero kind of brushed off. I feel that for this tool may be not the one for Gunpla, but if you want to do it slowly, then maybe this is. Let's try the steel one, steel brush. So once again, we're going to try on the ABS plastic, and this time we're going to try to see what happens on the flat piece at the back of the tag where this is Bandai 2008. What is this kit? Oh, it's the Gundam version 2.0 Master Kit. 5,000 RPM. So it is having the same erasing effect as the plastic brush. Oh, please focus. I think this one we need to try at a higher RPM, so let's just go to 35,000. Once again, this is the headphone warning. You can see that we were able to make quite a ways through the plastic, and there is plastic buildup here. And remove it slightly. And this looks like a pretty convincing graze from maybe a beam weapon. Let's once again try on a lighter plastic. We're going to try on the the part that's right below the XE. So here we can see that this is the same effect that we have on the ABS. Let me just remove the bits that are the excess, or the bits that came out of the pocket. So here we have the graze parts, and yeah, it looks the same as the ABS plastic, so the effect is the same. This feels a little bit better to use compared to the either the sand tool like this or the sandpaper for some reason, because I think because the brush itself, because you can see that this is, you can kind of compress it, that is taking away some of the slack, and yeah, so it doesn't skip. Now let's try one of the other heads. We're gonna start with the big one because I think the small one will skip quite a bit. Alright, we're gonna try about 5,000 RPM. And we're going to try on the front side of this light ABS plastic. We're going to try it at the, I guess it says reveal. No, it says, what is it? VGZ? I don't know. I can't read. So this is the first tool that is in this shed that does chipping. So you can see that the surface is, I'm not sure you can see the piece of, here you go. So you can see that there are pieces of plastic that's on the tool head itself. So these are chips. So this is the first tool that we have that does ejection. And that's very good. Because if the plastic is not ejected, we're gonna get the melted nonsense that is, that basically looks like this. Nobody wants a ball of plastic inside their ball of plastic. Anyways, let's try, because this is a head, let's try to see if how well we can control this. Sorry, since it's a ball, let's see how well we can control this. So it looks like if we're trying to go through a particular piece of plastic, it still has the melted plastic syndrome. I just ripped it off. The surface finish looks like it's being ground up by a ball, which makes sense. But yeah, this still has a melting plastics issue. Let's try to move it back and forth on the runner and see if that will kind of take care of the issue. At least not to get a buildup. Right, it looks like we have removed a few of the a thin layer from it, but it is definitely not perfect. Let's try to remove one, the number 15 right here. I'm not sure at what point you will need to do that, but this is a tool you will want to use if you want to remove details from a kit. Maybe it's a detail that you don't appreciate, or it's just a detail that is wrong for your creation. So maybe, yeah, if you want to remove detail, this ball thing is a way to go. I'm sure the smaller ball operates the same way, just that it works on a smaller surface. Lastly, we have our drill looking thing. You might have wondered why I didn't use the ball in a much higher RPM, because it's going to probably melt plastic. So now we have a thing that's just looks like a rotating shaft. I'm not going to touch it because that would be stupid. So let's this looks like it will need a little bit of a it will need a surface to drill in. So let's try to drill through this, the flat portion of the runner. So yep, it can make a round hole. So this really isn't much different from a drill. So what can we do with a hole though? So the purpose of this tool is to really allow the user or the tool welder to once they make a hole to guide it through the path that they want. So here we can see that it made a kind of makes like the typical cutout that you will see in ant farm, right? And yeah, that's the purpose of the tool. So if you want to make a hole in a sheet plastic, this is probably the way to go. So for science, let's make a hole in this PS plastic and see how it fares. No, yeah, see how it fares at a much higher RPM. So let's start with drilling. So headphone warnings is 35,000 RPM. You can see that it's skipping quite a bit. So this is definitely a tool that I'm not sure if you saw it, but this tool was not really that controllable at a higher RPM. And 5,000 RPM to me was plenty fast. So let's try 5,000 RPM here. This time we're just going to go straight up so my hand can be very, very far away from it. So for these tools, the direction of which you travel really, really matters. It's not meant to really go in one direction, or it's only really meant to go one direction. So here we can see that we made a, more and more of the end tunnels to the plastic. And you can see that my hand is covered in bits of plastic because it's chipping it out. And it has to remove a fair amount of material. And not sure if you can see here, this is all plastic chips. Yay, clean up. So I think that this brings our session to an end. In general, Dremel, this tool is way too fast to be used in this type of environments. Or in Gunpla building, if you're using resin, maybe that's it, but I don't have any resin to test out at the moment. The tool that I find interesting are these two. So this is the, at least for Gunpla making, so this is the metal brush wheel and the ball type things. The ball type, I'm not sure what these are called. Anyways, the ball that has chips that can make chips. This tool is somewhat interesting, but at the same time, it takes off a lot of material very, very quickly, and it's definitely not designed for something that's handheld. I think this is a drywall. This is for drywall, so you can kind of just stab and then make a cut. Yeah. I think why it doesn't work is because drywall is soft and this plastic is much harder, and it deflects too much, so you kind of see the skipping. So yeah, that's what I think about this tool. I will probably not use this tool again for making Gunpla unless I want to destroy something significantly. I don't see that happening because I built Gunpla and then I kind of just build it. I don't even paint. Maybe I'll panel line sometimes. So yeah, I don't see myself using this tool, but if you find this to be helpful, that's great. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.